You see, this is long overdue. Back in 1990, when I was 14 years old, I did something no 14-year-old kid should do. At the time, there was this movie that came out called Flatliners. They made a remake of it. I never did get to see it. But the original movie had, that Kiefer Sutherland and all those people in it. And as you know, the plot line had to do with medical students who were trying to cheat death by giving themselves anesthesia and stopping their heart in order to glean some picture of the afterlife and bring it back. At the time, I was really into Joseph Campbell and mythology. And, well, as the story goes of the Oracle of Delphi, what people have claimed happened was they took prepubescent girls and put them in a cave where there was a natural gas exuding from the earth, like a petroleum distillate of something of that nature. And they would speak in gibberish, and then the men would interpret their sayings. And so I put one and one together and decided that since I didn't have my ability to get actual anesthesia, I would use the original anesthesia, which is ether or gas, petroleum distillates, and I would literally try to kill myself and see what I can see. I call this period of my life, that's when I engaged in what would be called my confessions of a teenage gas huffer. People were doing it all over the place at that era in the suburbs, and my friends are all huffing gas and doing Scotch guard and stuff like that. And people were dying, so I figured it was a sure shot. It would work. And so I, kneeled down and started taking nice big inhalements of gasoline. And what happened is I got what I was looking for. I was transported to another dimension. I saw things that are very undescribable. At first, it was what would the Buddhists consider the living landscape. It was the weirdest thing about it was kind of a very digital, almost like a souped-up light bright. And I traveled through the. Basically, it all started with basically a black flag placed on my forehead. And then I would feel this breeze coming over me, a warm breeze, and it would just lift off the veil, and boom, I was there. And it was intense. And they showed me things. They basically told me shit that I did not want to hear. Nobody, even at that age, I realized that, I was asking for trouble. I mean, I knew schizophrenics. I had schizophrenics in my family. My grandmother was schizophrenic. And basically, I had I wouldn't say a Jesus experience, but basically, that's what happened. I was told that, I've done what countless people have done in the past. They received what Joseph Campbell would say, receiving the boon, and you have to come back and offer that. And it was a lesson. And like I said, it was very, very digital. And it came to me in spurts, like pockets of download. It wasn't very much, they didn't really speak in words. It's more imagery, metaphors, and stuff like that. So they told me that basically my namesake, my name is Jonas, and my whole life I was always called Jonah, and I was always like, my name is Jonas. I mean, I'm not Jonah. But, later on it turned out that Jonas is the derivative, the Anglified version of Jonah. And as you know, the story of Jonah and the whale. Jonah was told to go to Nineveh, and God told him that he had to do it, and there's no getting around it. And Jonah didn't want to do it. He just did not want to do it because he knew what people like that were treated. I mean, the prophets never ended very well when they're outcasts. They're treated like schizophrenic, homeless, outcasts, and they were anyway. I didn't want to do it, and I basically shit myself. I remember when I was told that that's what I had to do. I remember screaming, "No, absolutely not." I knew what befell those people going around saying that they're Jesus, even though they did not say I was Jesus. They said I was Jonas, which is what I am. I was a teacher, and I had to listen to teach. Um, so, um, I don't want to get into the actual specifics of the visions because that's time for a later date of some sort. But needless to say, I transported through time. I spent some time with Galileo, Copernicus. It was very much an experience. And then I quickly decided I need to forget about this, and I wouldn't tell nobody. I did not tell nobody what happened, and I wouldn't tell anybody for years. So fast forward in my life, I've been blessed in the fact that I've got to do everything I've ever wanted to do as far as accomplishments. As a young kid, what people mostly want is to be a rock star. I mean, I wanted to play music. I was a musician, and I got to do that for a while. In college, I played. Weirdest thing is I played electric flute in two lesbian bands. It's a weird coincidence, but it was. I obviously wasn't famous, but I was able to pay the bills. But I hated it. I absolutely despised going into the bars and having to play every night and give something that was a passion turn into a commodity, something I had to use. Anyway, I despised it and hated it. And luckily, then I got to do the second thing I've always wanted to do, which was to be a history teacher. I always wanted to teach history. And luckily enough, another pattern which occurs in my life is, I tend to play the courting ritual as sort of the woman does in society. I'm the chaste, I'm the prize, I'm the one that people go after, and I got that weird pattern that other guys have where, it takes a woman to get my shit together. And my first wife, oddly enough, I mean, should kind of regress and say there's another weird irony and coincidence. My first girlfriend's name was Catherine, which, is a beautiful classical name. And the oddest thing is the second person I was with, who became my first wife, also name was Catherine. The weirdest thing about that is when I was introduced to her as Elaine. And I called her Elaine till one day I looked at her license and her name was Catherine Elaine, which, kind of was ironic and weird, but, I went with it, 2 Catherines in a row. Then after that I met what was to become my soulmate, who was Catherine the Third, and her name actually was Catherine Ellen, which is another weird thing, but I don't want to get off on this digression here. Basically what I'm trying to get at is I know people have been talking about this for a while, but I have complete and utter confidence in declaring that the simulation theory is a fact. It's true. We are living in a simulation. It's something that I've had to deal with. It's something that's really brought kind of like almost a state of nihilism, because you would think that everybody would want to know definitively what life is all about, what the puzzles. But for me, it's like knowing that, it's all been predetermined. It's all new. There's no free will. You've already been, assigned a duty, a job, and it goes on ad infinitum. It was something I really still struggle with. I really want, if I had it my way, I would want the atheist to be right. I want non-existence. I want to not be. I want to cease. I'm tired. And anyway, like I said, I'll leave it there. I look forward to communicating with you in the future. Thank you very much.